Hey guys, it's me, Rich. Democrats may be walking straight into a disaster, and you can see the warning signs. This video examines how Trump obsession, socialist victories, weak leadership, and a dangerous Michigan Senate primary could wreck their hopes for 2026 and beyond. Republicans still face a close election, so nobody should celebrate early. However, the Democratic Party is fighting an internal war while their voters keep asking for help with affordability issues that always seem to plague the left. Now, if you stick with me till the end of this video, you'll see why the 2030 census could leave Democrats facing a wasteland they created themselves. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel where we are MAGA first, conservative second, Republican third, with the goal of bringing you the most honest news coverage of the day. All right, if you're new, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you. So let's not start measuring the curtains in the speaker's office just yet. The 2026 election could be extremely close. I've been talking for months now about how the Republicans have won the redistricting war that was started by New York. That's right, libnuts. It was not Texas. Texas was responding to what New York did. Now, that put them ahead in many respects. But even if Republicans keep control of the House, they may begin the next session with a majority of only 5 to 6 seats, maybe 8. And that's not a governing cushion. That is a political tightrope that is stretched over a canyon while half of Washington throw rocks at you, especially with so many worthless rhinos in the ranks. But something is happening inside the Democratic Party that could change the entire race. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're just not paying attention. Democrats probably entered this election cycle feeling pretty confident. History usually punishes the party controlling Washington during a midterm election cycle. Their constituents had the familiar story already. Republicans would take the blame for every grocery bill, every rent increase, and every economic frustration. Democrats would sit back, watch the historical pattern unfold, and then stroll back into power. Then their party began to fall apart. Controversies have surfaced in the House and Senate races. Democratic leaders still struggle to explain what they would do for ordinary Americans. They ran out of ideas years ago. When voters ask about affordability, the party mentions grocery prices for a few minutes before returning to its favorite subject. That's right, Donald Trump. You already know where this is going, right? Their real priority appears to be another endless investigation. They haven't caught on yet that their own constituents are tired of trying to get Trump. The Democrat politicians insist that investigating Trump is different from impeaching him, as if families choosing between groceries and electricity will appreciate that careful distinction. I think the Republicans are still in there for the midterm election year because so many Americans remember what life was like under the Democrats. I mean, think about it. Experimental medicine mandates, wearing masks, shutting down your businesses and or your jobs, allowing fraud to take place, costing us, the taxpayers, hundreds of billions of dollars. The Democrats are the party of fraud, which is why they're not doing so well in a year that they should be kicking butt. On top of that, they got the commies taking over their party, and they're doing nothing to stop them. If Democrats regain the House, committee chairmen will begin a political treasure hunt. Every document will become a bombshell. Every administrative disagreement will be a constitutional crisis. The bootlicking sycophants at the cable news networks will stare into their cameras and announce that corruption has suddenly been discovered in Washington. Somehow they'll have the balls to say that Russia was involved. You just know that. Apparently, it was hiding only for the years when Republicans were in charge. There was nothing there when Democrats, yeah, come on. The strangest part is the confidence. Voters rejected the Democratic Party in 2024. What has this party done since then to win those voters back? What new economic plan has it offered? What lesson has it learned? The answer is nothing. I mean, that answer is not really trying to be sarcastic. It's the central problem. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, an agency the activist left treats like a villain in a comic book, has reportedly enjoyed greater favorability than the Democratic Party. Can you imagine? Democrats remain weak with independent voters. Their problems with men have not disappeared. Their relationship with working class Americans keeps deteriorating. They don't know what to do. And that weakness opened the door for something the party establishment may no longer be able to control. The Democratic Socialists of America did not politely knock on the door. The movement entered the Democratic coalition, organized at the local level, backed candidates, and started winning elections, the primaries. Many of those victories have occurred in deep blue areas rather than the competitive districts that will decide Congress. Democratic leaders may find that comforting. Well, they shouldn't. A movement does not need to win everywhere to capture the party. It needs committed activists, weak opposition, and leaders who are terrified of being challenged in a primary. The DSA has all three. Once those candidates acquire real power, they could make the squad look restrained. Establishment Democrats seem to believe the socialist surge will burn itself out. That's less of a strategy than a wish whispered into a television camera. Here's where the danger becomes much more serious. DSA politics remain unpopular with many working class Americans. Black voters may prove especially difficult for socialist candidates to persuade. Democrats need strong support from those voters in 2026, and they certainly cannot afford to weaken that coalition before the 2028 presidential election. Michigan may become the test case. Abdul El-Sayed, often called AES, is running as a far-left candidate. Critics have attacked him over statements and associations they characterize as sympathetic toward extremist causes. Whatever voters conclude about those allegations, his electoral challenge is obvious. He needs to expand his support among black voters. He must appeal to Jewish voters. Rural Michigan presents another major obstacle. That is a difficult coalition for any candidate. For a candidate identified with the far left, it may be impossible. I didn't say the left, the far left, the commies. Representative Haley Stevens is competing against El-Sayed in the Democratic primary. Her supporters could decide more than the nomination. If El-Sayed wins and only 5% of Stevens' voters move toward Republican Mike Rogers, Rogers could capture that Senate seat. Think about that and what it would mean. A Rogers victory could effectively secure the Republican Senate majority regardless of what happens in Alaska. One Democratic primary driven by an activist faction that remains unpopular with crucial voting blocs could determine control of the United States Senate. Republicans should not become complacent at this point. They have their own candidates who can turn a safe race into a three-alarm fire before breakfast. We all know that. Still, Democrats face something deeper than a few troublesome personalities. They face a question about who actually controls their party at this point. That brings us to the leadership crisis that they're going through. Who can lead today's Democratic Party without infuriating one faction or surrendering to another? Representative Hakeem Jeffries already risks looking like a lame duck. Oh, he's lame. It would not be shocking if he were no longer leading House Democrats next year. Even if he survives, he could emerge badly weakened because members of his caucus may see less reason to follow him. Many have said they're not going to vote for him if he runs for speaker, if they get the majority. Chuck Schumer has faced intense pressure from his own side. Nancy Pelosi has gone from leadership. The old guard is fading, while younger socialist activists are building organizations, recruiting candidates, and demanding ideological obedience. So who comes next? Could it be the DSA? One can only hope. Not because socialist government would be a good thing for the country. Oh, heavens, no. It would be an economic and cultural catastrophe, but an openly socialist Democratic Party would finally force votes and voters to choose between two honest alternatives. The party could no longer market radical policies through friendly language and then pretend that every critic misunderstood the brochure. You're just too stupid to understand what I said. That's the Democrats. That's how they behave. And the long-term map may be even more frightening for Democrats than the next midterm. The 2030 congressional reapportionment could shift political power toward faster growing states. If current population patterns continue, Democratic strongholds may lose influence in the House and the Electoral College, while Republican-leaning states gain from it. The exact result would depend on the census and future elections, but the strategic danger is pretty clear. Republicans were forced to rebuild their coalition. Trump expanded the party's appeal among working-class voters and created new paths through states that Democrats once treated as dependable territory. The traditional blue wall has already shown cracks. Democrats have much less geographic flexibility. A coalition increasingly concentrated among affluent, college-educated white voters in major cities and coastal strongholds may dominate social media. It may control universities and newsrooms. It still has to reach 270 electoral votes. Think about that. That is the part that their constituents cannot solve with a slogan. The Trump era will eventually end, sadly. Democrats appear convinced that time itself will solve their problem. They imagine that once Trump leaves the stage, the country will return to the political world that existed before 2016. But that world is gone. They didn't get the memo. Trump did not create the anger of forgotten workers. He recognized it. He did not invent distrust of the media. He gave it a microphone. He did not force Democrats to embrace activists who treat borders, policing, energy, and basic income and economic reality as offensive concepts. They chose that road themselves. Can't deny it. Now they may be staring at the consequences. If Democrats spend the midterms fantasizing about another Trump impeachment, which they are talking about, God love them, they may waste another election talking to themselves. If their establishment refuses to confront the DSA, the socialist wing may keep capturing pieces of the party. If Michigan nominates a candidate who cannot hold the Democratic coalition together, Republicans could gain the Senate seat that secures their majority. And if population shifts reshape the Electoral College after 2030, the damage could last far beyond one election. So go ahead, you absolute clowns. Also, it's not going to happen. The bright side is that voters still have the final word. We always did. Republicans can win if they stay focused on affordability, public safety, secure borders, and the concerns of working Americans. That's their job. The Democrats forgot that a long time ago. The Democratic Party is offering investigations and internal warfare. Conservatives can offer competent government and a country that works again. That is a contrast worth taking to every single voter in America. All right. If you like our videos and you haven't done so already, you should become a subscriber to the channel. You can hit that notification bell, smack the like button, because it helps us get our message out to more people. All right. Tell me what you think about this in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.
We just wanna beat them, parents who are speeding. Every turn, every spin, read from within. Playing dirty, playing to win, but we're on to the sin.